Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to PSGL PS F1 Season 33. This is the top tier on the PlayStation. We head to the Baku City circuit for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's located right in the heart of the city, close to the main promenade on the Caspian Sea, and I think we could see a lot of carbon fibre flying around here today. My name is Jess Ball. Unfortunately, my usual co-commentator Aidan Carter can't make it today, but that doesn't mean I'm alone. I'm joined by someone more than capable to take Aidan's place for this week only. It is the PSF2 commentator, well, co-commentator, making his PSF1 commentary debut. It is Connor Moore. Moore, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you for the very nice intro there, and I'm really looking forward to my first round here in PSF1 with the most competitive drivers on the platform at one of the trickiest circuits on the game. I'm sure we're going to be in for an absolute banger of a Grand Prix tonight.
Yes, we are indeed, and we've had a banger of a season already. If we look at the drivers' standings, we've got Max that still leads. He only scored 3 points last week, but it is Tom that was the star of the show last week. He got his second win from 2 races. He didn't start from pole, believe it or not. It was Harry who took his pole, just missed out on the win last week, but it was a very good battle between the pair of them as well. And we had the likes of Kian taking his first podium, and we saw lots of other drivers scoring very good results and making their way up the championship. Now, with Max with 48 points, there's a 12-point gap between Markados and Tom. Markados and Tom joint on points, and with Tom being on form, Markados really needs to step it up if he wants to challenge the top guys for this championship. We do not have that long to go till the end of the season, including this round. We have 7 rounds to go, so with Tom having his momentum going, could we see him getting some more wins coming up soon?
I think we definitely could. You know, he's obviously got a lot of confidence from this recent form that he's found. 2 race wins in a row. I mean, that's very impressive stuff from the Shizou driver, and he's right up there. He's in that championship battle, level on points for P2, but Tom Factory Max 12 points out ahead. That means if he scored 0 points and Shizou Tom got P2, he'd only be level with him. So the gap is absolutely massive, only 5 rounds into the championship. So I think Max, he's quite comfortably up there, but he's still got that pressure under him from Markados and Tom behind, and I think they're really going to try and battle for that win once again for Tom, and hopefully Markados can get back onto the podium after his DNF last week.
Let's just say as well, we are keeping an eye on Markados today because I asked for driver thoughts at the beginning of the season as to what their favourite track was. Markados was one of the only drivers that said that it was one of their favourite tracks, and that is very, very brave, I have to say, and I really liked that answer because majority of people said it was one of their worst tracks. So if Markados has a good chance to win the race tonight, it is tonight. And he got close to win the race. I believe it was France, and then his teammate Fabi took it, but they did work together for that. So that could be it as well. We do have one of our reserve drivers, Louis, who's raced for the first time this season. He said it was one of his favourite tracks as well, so keep an eye on him. Another driver to keep an eye on tonight as well is the F3 championship leader, who's been promoted all the way to F1, Morborak. Now, he is, according to some drivers, the Swiss pad goat. He's won 3 of the last, well, he's won a lot of the races in the PSF3, and in every race that he has won, he's got pole in every single one of them. So it is nice to see him making the jump, of course. We had so many drivers from F3 last season that made the jump, like Max, for example, that has done well. But for him to make the jump this late into the season, this could be a huge pressure for him, but at least it's a bit of a warm-up before next season, potentially.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you don't see it too often where drivers just absolutely dominate their division, especially so high in the likes of PSGL's Formula 3. But, you know, to win that many races, to get those many pole positions, it can't go unnoticed. So he's been jumped up to F1. It's going to be a lot of pressure for him, but I think it provides a new exciting opportunity to compete with the best of the best and really show everyone what he's made of. So hopefully he does well in his first race here, but obviously obviously at Baku, there's every chance of a bit of carnage going on. But a couple of drivers are now setting their first lap times of the session with Talent Factory Kian. He's the first man out on circuit. He's currently coming through the first few turns of the circuit, and he's currently top 5 in the championship, if I'm not mistaken. Quite a few points off of his Talent Factory teammate Max, who's currently leading the championship. But he still could be in that battle. We've got 7 rounds to go in this season, as you said earlier. So that's a lot of points to be scored. Over 80 points to be scored. So I think there's every chance he can get himself up into that championship battle. But it all starts with a good qualifying performance.
Yes, it does. A few information about the circuit. It used to be the European Grand Prix when it first obviously came into Formula One. It was called the Grand Prix of Europe, and the European Grand Prix was hosted 23 times since 1983. It was at the Valencia Street Circuit. Nürburgring Donington Park, I believe, hosted 1 race of the European Grand Prix, but now it's obviously known as the Azerbaijan Grand Prix as well. And there were many other people that scored their debut podiums as well. Lance Stroll was the youngest driver ever to score a podium at that time, aged 18 years, 239 days, and he was only 11 days older than Max Verstappen when he won the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix. So here comes Kian then. He's going up to the line, the longest straight on the F1 calendar. 4 on the power here in 8th gear. And what was he going to do for him? And it's a 1:38.6. Now, I was looking at the F2 pole time from obviously earlier on, and it said a pole time, I believe, was a 1:38.2. So we could see times in into the 1:37s potentially as well, but we are seeing some early banker times which are looking very, very good at the moment as well. Morborak is on a lap at the moment as he's going through sector 1. And I think we could see a lot of carbon fibre flying around, and we could see a lot of safety cars, don't you think?
Yeah, with the walls being so close to you at every single turn, it's so tight. And when you try to go side by side at this circuit, well, sometimes it can get a little bit messy. But these drivers are going to have to navigate themselves around this circuit and make sure that they make smart moves and don't battle too hard, because they might find themselves ending up in the wall. But I think these drivers, they know well enough now. They've got the racecraft good enough to be battling around this circuit, and we might see a few crashes.
Oh no, our debutant in F1 has binned it in the wall in the castle section. And I think he's done a Charles Leclerc, I'm stupid there, but that was on the opposite side. That's not good, and he's going to be starting in dead last more.
Yeah, DNF that early on in the session on your very first lap time, on your very first race. You know, it's got to feel awful, and obviously he's feeling that pressure of being in this top division. So he's now going to be starting at the back of the grid with Dezo, who has a qualifying ban for this Grand Prix. So those two drivers will be on the back row of the grid. But that castle section, it's definitely deadly. Very easy to just lock up your tires and go straight on into the wall, and that's exactly what's happened to the AlphaTauri driver. Hopefully we don't see it happen to any other drivers, but there's every chance that it might. These drivers have to be on top of their game around this circuit to make sure to keep it out of the walls.
We got Marlon that just came across the line in a P6, a driver who's done well in street circuits before in Singapore, took the strategy gamble, went online and got P2 in that race. We could see similar strategy calls here today in Baku, with the amount of front wings potentially being put on to the cars as well. So obviously we'll keep an eye on how the Red Bulls do as well. And there's certain drivers who we're used to seeing up near the top that are potentially not doing as well this season. But we saw Jensen last week had a bit of turn of the better. I think it was one of his first races where he said, actually, I quite enjoyed that race, and he actually got a good result. So I did ask the drivers about their thoughts, of course, going into this as well. And there was a few drivers that scored some decent points as well. And he got a win in F2, season 29. And PC also showed some promise there. He was actually racing in a and PC I believe, on a Thursday night, and he did a very good job there as well, mixing it against the ones who had been there before. So I was discussing with Tom about the transition from PC to PS and so forth as well. It can be quite tricky to adapt against platforms, but I think one advantage that Jensen will have is he's got the experience about racing about Baku and maybe racing against drivers that are probably a higher skill level than him, but he's closing in 13th at the moment, so still a lot of time to find.
Yeah, definitely. Off 7 tenths off our provisional pole man, Talent Factory Max, who's 2 tenths out in front of 38.3. That's a mighty impressive banker lap time there from the Alfa Romeo driver. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that, and I think we're definitely going to see him improve upon that. But you can see it's very, very close in the midfield, all the way from P7 down to P11, setting 38.8 second lap times. So it's really, really close between those guys. So every single 100th of a second is going to count by the end of the session. And well, this is quite a long circuit, so there's plenty of turns to try and find the time, 20 turns to be exact. So even if you make just the slightest of mistakes, you could see yourself down in the likes of P13, where Shiju Jensen is. Obviously, he's only 2 tenths off of P7 in this session, but with the grid being so close, you just have to keep an eye on that delta, make sure you're improving at every single turn if you want a decent position on this grid, and everyone is gunning for that pole position spot. But right now, Talent Factory Max is looking pretty secure up there.
Yeah, he is. Your current championship leader by 12 points. He hasn't had a win since round number 2, and the last win he got was at Singapore, and he got pole. So maybe this could be, well, he likes street circuits in a way as well, and he's hoping for a win. That's what he was asking me earlier on when he was saying his thoughts. He wants the race victory here today, which is usually quite a bold statement, because usually some people would say, oh, I just want a podium, or I just want points. No, Max wants to win here today, and he's looking very, very confident indeed, and he's about a tenth shy of the F2 pole, so that lap time, I think, is very quick indeed. Now, I've got some very interesting facts. I can actually see the fastest set times at the moment due to the telemetry tool that I found a couple of days ago that I'm going to be using on stream. Now, Tom's got the fastest third sector at the moment with a 34.7. Jerome's fastest middle sector was a 39.8, and then the final sector, apparently it's because of the 2.9, but that's definitely wrong, so hopefully the telemetry fixes itself at the moment. But here comes Max then, as he's about to start his run at the moment. Everyone's about to start their runs right now. There's a lot of traffic coming in the final sector, so they're pretty much able to keep their times as quickly as they possibly can. And by the way, they only have 3 or 4 sets of the soft tyres in this session, and the walls are so close. We could see a lot of retirement in qualifying like we saw with Kieran in F2, by just either not paying attention or just by grazing the wall just a little bit. It's just hard to get right around here.
Yeah, it really is. You just tap the wall slightly and you could see yourself colliding with another driver, spinning your car around. And a lot of the curbs at the circuit are also quite aggressive. They're raised up from the floor, so if you try to ride over it with your car, you might send yourself flying upwards. But thankfully, most drivers have been able to keep it on circuit, apart from, sadly, our debutant here, Mobarak. But the rest of the drivers feeling doing decently at this point of the session, with Talent Factory Max obviously on his second lap time of the session as he heads into the final sector of this Azerbaijan circuit's lap time. We'll be able to see what his second sector split is as he heads into this left-hander of turn 16. He's 2.5 tenths up on his 138.3. So Talent Factory Max aiming for a 38.1 here, and that's going to be absolutely rapid. He is going so quickly around the streets of Baku. And, well, let's see, it's a very long straight with DRS wide open, getting up to around 350 kilometers an hour across the line to 38 flat for Talent Factory Max. That is rapid from the Alfa Romeo driver, 5 tenths out in front of his Talent Factory teammate of Kian. I mean, that is going to take some serious beating today. 5 tenths out ahead of Talent Factory Kian. Super impressive, and you can see why he's confident that he'll be battling for the race win today. It definitely will be, and the drivers, they now finished their second lap times of the session. They're all heading back to the pit lane and waiting for the countdown now for their final lap times of the session. Every driver is going to have one final lap, all of them using 3 sets of their soft compound of tires. So I think they will be either saving a set of softs or saving a set of mediums, depending on what tire allocation they have chosen. I assume a lot of people will have gone for 3 softs and 1 set of mediums. So they'll have that extra bit of option for the race, which is exactly what you want, especially when there's high risks of safety cars. You want to keep those options open and the strategy flexible. But as of right now, Tank Factory Max absolutely dominating the session, with Marketos, not relative to Max, but relative to the rest of the field, doing quite a good job. He's 2/10 out ahead of Shazoo Tom, so he's pretty comfortable on the front row of the grid, and I'm sure there's still time to find on that 1 minute 38.3. And you can see further down in P18, the WR Williams driver, he has not set a lap time. So he's had 2 opportunities to set a lap time, still hasn't got one onto the board, and he could definitely be struggling a lot at this circuit, maybe just tapping the walls, breaking his front wing ever so slightly. And there's so many things that could cause you to abandon a lap time at this circuit. So obviously he's been struggling quite a bit. Also likes of Volkong and Frankie outside of the 1 minute 38-second lap time. So all those drivers are going to have to find a lot of improvement now in these final few minutes of the session. But the drivers are now out of the pit lane. They've got one final lap to prove what they can really do around this circuit when they go absolutely full push on the soft compounded tires with the ERS and the DRS. It's going to be exciting to see how hard these drivers to push and what lap times can they achieve. Can Talent Factory Max dip into a 1 minute 37-second lap time? It's going to be interesting to find out. But first, one of the first drivers who has gone out is OP Stefano in the Aston Martin, currently coming into the final sector of the lap time, and we're really now going to get a feel for how these cars handle in the qualifying session when the track condition is at its best and the drivers are most tuned in. Let's see how the OP driver does. Stefano coming out of the final few turns and preparing to start what will be his final lap time of the session.
Yes, by the way, thank you guys for pointing out that my mic was on mute there. I forgot, I pretty much was, I muted it on my stream deck a little bit because I was busy sorting out stuff for the data and the sector times, and then I forgot to unmute it on the stream deck. But hopefully you guys can hear me now, but at least you were able to hear more still, so that was all good. But Stefano at the moment, 34.8 in the first sector, so that was on his outlap, my bad, I believe. But we will check to see what it is for his flyer lap as he heads towards this quite narrow bit of the circuit. Another straight coming up as well. What is his first sector here? 34.7. He has improved. It is green. Tom has invalidated on his outlap, and I can see who's gone green and who's gone purple as well, just to keep an eye on who's potentially going to be doing well and who's going to be not doing so well. Unfortunately, the map that I had doesn't have the turn numbers, which is not ideal, so I have to get another copy of it as well. Heading past the castle section, heading towards turn 14 and 15, coming up through here as well. 8th gear, you've got to be full throttle through here, and then you brake down into 4th. You've got to try and brake as early as you can to avoid, obviously, a little bit of a spin. And what is his middle sector here? His middle sector was a 39.839, so he did not improve on his final sector, middle sector, but the final sector can make it or break it. Max, 34.5 in the first sector. He's purple, so he's improving once again, so we'll keep an eye on him in just a moment. But Stefano, heading towards the start-finish straight in that Aston Martin. What can he do? P8 for him as well. We've got Jerome up next, I believe, about to finish his run. Max has not improved in the middle sector, whereas we got Kian that's improving, Fabi's improving, Jensen's improving as well. Kian comes across the line in second with a 23.8 final sector, so again, he improved in the first and second, but not in the middle. But Max, 1:38.0. He does not go to the 1:37s, but still, that's a very good lap time from him. Nando is not improving, I don't think. No, 34.9 for him as well. Tom, last week's race winner, has got a point to prove as well, but we got more people coming up to the line. We can follow them first. I think it's Aurelian up to the line next, and he's 7 thousandths quicker. And I think it was that middle sector where he gained all that time. It was a 39.9 in the middle sector. More people up to the line. It's hard to keep track. Here comes Tom, P7 at the moment. He could be the one that could challenge Max for pole. He was purple in the middle sector, 39.512. He did improve in the first sector, so he's got to have a miraculous final sector to get pole. No, P7, and he did not improve in the final sector either. So not much improvements from people in the first sector. A lot of improvements in the middle sector. And a lot of improvements in the final sector as well. But it is Max on pole position for today's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. More, is he back?
He must be now after a brilliant qualifying performance like that. And starting at the front of the field at a street circuit, that's going to be super crucial now for the results of this Grand Prix. But completely deserved a 38 flat, 2/10 out ahead of his Talent Factory teammate Kian. And he is absolutely dominated in this qualifying session. But now the main question is, can he dominate in the race that's to come? Well, that's a completely different story to 1 lap pace. He's got to keep it consistent now for 26 laps around this circuit. But it's a Talent Factory front row lockout for this Baku Grand Prix with Kian just 2/10 behind. Markados wasn't able to improve on his 38.3, actually had a spin in the final sector which broke off his front wing, and that's why he was retired from the session. But there are your final results, and just such a lead that Max has over the rest of the field. Markados in P3 with Fabi managing to boost himself up into P4. Louise and Rowan will be starting on the 3rd row of the grid, with Tom down in P7 alongside Stefano. Marlon and Jensen on the 5th row of the grid, with Stefano and OP Nando Jr., the 2 Aston Martins, on the 6th row. Jerome and Volkongen on the 7th row. Arielian and Kazizel on the 8th row. Frankie and Nehemia on the 9th row. And then at the back row of the grid will be Desio and our debutant for today's Grand Prix, Mobarak. But that was quite the qualifying session. Maybe not the battle we would have hoped for a pole position, but still promising, as the midfield was very, very close in that session.
Yeah, and not everybody got purple in all 3 sectors as well, which shows how close it is. But before we head to the main event, we got a word from our sponsors, GT Omega. Hello everybody, welcome back to PSF1. This is the information about the track. 20 corners, 3.7 miles long, 2 DRS zones as well here that the drivers could have at their disposal as well. But we are about to get underway for the race action. This circuit is very challenging for the drivers, features both tight 90-degree corners, and it's the longest flat area on this calendar, and this setup is always going to be quite challenging around here. We're about to get going for the race, for the 5 red lights. We got Matt on pole for the first time since the Singapore Grand Prix. Can he get a race win here? We'll have to wait and see, and it is lights out, and away we go. Let's see how it's a guest start for him. Matt's got a superb start, so has Kian as well, and making their way towards turn 1. Markados not the best of starts at the moment, but everyone seems to make their way through turn 1 a-okay. But turn 3 can be the tricky part, quite narrow as well. Again, fine as well, but we've got Fabi going side by side with a Williams and upping an AlphaTauri as well, heading towards turn 4. It would go down the inside as someone's ghosted. I think it's one of the Ferraris, I think, that's ghosted a little bit, but luckily he is back. Stefano tried to go down the inside in towards turn 4 and 5 at the moment, but they're keeping up together as well. Jensen had a good start as well, all the way up into 9th place, so he has had the start of dreams. A yellow flag at the background. Kazizel's at the moment, so is Volakonga, and I think they've got damage. I think we'll have to keep an eye on that, but Max had the start of dreams, it looks like, at the opening lap.
Yeah, perfect start from Town Factory Max. You can't ask for much more, converting pole position to the race lead on lap 1, making sure to keep Town Factory Keane at bay. Shizou Tom moving all the way from P7 to P4 on that race start, and I think that's because he was caught up in an incident which caused his car to ghost, and then he was able to just ghost through a lot of the drivers. So yeah, he was just able to make his way up the field, and now he's on the back of the Mercedes driver of Marketos. And you can see everyone quite aggressive on that opening lap. A lot of people gaining positions, but also the likes of OP, Rowan, Volkongen having pretty bad starts at the first lap. And you can see the gaps are very, very fine with Louise all over the back of Fabi as they head into turn number 1. Max continues to lead this Grand Prix as we head into lap number 2. Alfa Romeo driver doing everything that he can to secure this race lead, and making sure that he doesn't expend too much energy either. He's got to make sure that he saves up that ERS and manages his race correctly, because even if he is in the lead of the race, if he doesn't have ERS to defend from the drivers behind, that's a very easy way to lose the race lead. But everyone keeping it quite consistent off of the start. Obviously Volkongen got caught up in an incident, so he's down into P20, but the rest of the grid, some nice clean battling I was seeing up and down the field. And Talent Factory Max, he's almost already pulled out a 1 second gap to Talent Factory Keane before the DRS is even enabled, so if he can do that, he might run away with this Grand Prix.
Yes, he could as well, and that could be very interesting indeed. As we're seeing, I think the top speed at the moment from some of these drivers, Frankie being first in the speed trap at the moment, which is very, very great to see at this moment in time. But obviously, we will keep an eye on what these drivers can do for the rest of this as well. We'll look at positions gained for these drivers as well. We've got Tom that's gained 3 positions. We've got Stefano, Marlon, Jensen. Stefano's gained 1. A lot of Stefanos here in this lobby as well. Rowan has lost a few positions. He's down to 16th. He has lost the most out of anybody. He lost 10 positions, so he's got a lot of work to catch up on. As Frankie has had a bit of a spin heading towards the final corner. His tyre temperatures is not good whatsoever, so he's got obviously a lot of work to do if he wants to keep up his performance for the rest of this race. And is it a VSC? I think it is. Let me have a look at my data. Looks like it is a VSC. Yeah, it is a VSC. Okay, so we've got some people taking advantage in the background after having bad races so far by going into the pits, which I don't blame them, but everyone else is on the hards apart from the Maya. Maybe the Maya could have taken the opportunity to pit, but again, it's too late. And that was a very short VSC, more.
Yeah, very short indeed. It got underway as quickly as it stopped, but yeah, there you go. I think that was just for a spin for the Town Factory Frankie, obviously losing his front wing, so maybe there was a bit of debris on track that the virtual marshals had to get rid of. But the race is back underway on lap 3 now. Town Factory Max, he has pulled out that gap on Keane. He got the better jump on the restart, and it seems like a lot of people might have had bad jumps. FVR Stefano is now 1.8 seconds behind the top 6. Marlon is another 1.3 seconds behind. So a couple of drivers losing the DRS on that virtual safety car restart. And that's going to possibly create a split between the two halves of the field. Now we could see from P8 downwards battling it out for P8. And then obviously the top 6 all within a DRS of each other, apart from Talent Factory Max, who's still keeping Talent Factory Keane very, very honest and outside of that DRS. So Max, he's doing a brilliant job so far. He's just got to keep it up, but both himself and Keane are now depleting their ERS down this straight. Keane wants to make sure he's within that 1 second. Max, he's trying to run away as quickly as possible, and both drivers are starting to get super aggressive now. And we're also seeing Shizou Jensen. He is on the main straight now, making the move on VIR Marlin as they head into turn 1. A nice and tidy move, using the DRS to his advantage. He gets the move done before the braking zone and pushed himself up into P8. But You can see we're also seeing Mobarak, who started from P20 on the grid. He's up into P13 now, taking advantage of other drivers having their incidents and picking his way through the field. He's up into the top 13 now. I'm sure he'll be trying to battle for points. But Markados in the top 3, he's now 1.4 seconds behind the 2 TF guys. So it looks like they're going to be the 2 drivers who are going to be battling for this race win, unless, of course, Markados can use a bit of his ERS and his pace in the tyres to catch up to those 2.
Last year, remember, in real life, it was the race where we saw Sergio Perez, who was started alongside Charles Leclerc on the front row as well. But Charles Leclerc had problems and Perez continued to lead for quite a long time, actually, until Max Verstappen passed him in turn 1 on lap 15. So I wonder if Max is going to try and lead this race for as long as he possibly can. And this is a track where we could see a lot of issues in terms of damage, and luckily they won't have engine issues because they don't have engine issues on this game, but we could see potential punches as well, where I think it was either the last season or the season before, where we saw, I think, 3 or 4 drivers getting punches in the space of a few laps, and I think Pirelli got a question, I remember one year, but hopefully it doesn't happen here as well. But Markados has already lost time to Kian, so he's obviously got a lot of work to do. Here comes Jerome, who's got a good straight line speed in the background. He's going to be heading towards turn 1. Stefano closed the door on him with the DRS as well, and you can see the massive DRS train that is forming right now, and Jerome is faster than the guys around him as Stefano trying to make 2 into 1, stays in 9th place. Jerome gets past Marlon up into 10th place, so this midfield battle is looking very intense. Jensen goes down the inside of Stefano, and that's a weird camera angle for me to see there. He's just about grazed the wall a little bit there, so that's allowing Stefano just to gain a little bit more time on his rival at the moment. But Jensen likes this track, still doing well. Louis doing well, in fact, on his return to PSF1 up into 6th place. So but I think most people on 29% as well, and due to the fact, obviously, it's a long straight heading towards turn 1. There is a long straight as well after the second DRS zone. They're going to have to save their ERS a lot here if they want to challenge a lot of these guys for some decent results. Oh, we had a spinner. Nando, is it castle section? Yes, it is, more.
There you go, castle section once again causing even more troubles are now translating into the Grand Prix itself. OP Nando Jr. falling all the way down the order now into P18, and he's quite a way off the rest of the grid. That's such a shame to see, but mistakes like that, they can happen, and you can see complete lock up into turn number 15 there. I don't think he's got any front wing at all, so he just smashes into the wall, and he's going to have to come in and get that repaired, and that's going to really put him on the back foot. But we're now seeing a move for the podium position. Shizu Tom gets himself up into P3. FVR Drone continuing to carry his momentum. He moves up another position as he gets himself up into P9. FVR Stefano's FVR teammate is now making the move on Shizu Jensen, who goes wide into turn number 1, trying to defend his position into turn number 2. But FVR Stefano has got the better line through there. But has Jensen got the better exit? He's got more ERS and the DRS, the slipstream, giving him that extra bit of boost. And now he moves himself up into the top 3, or the top 7 I should say, as he heads into turn number 3. He's now back into the top 7, but he's 5 seconds off of one Louise, and yeah, that's quite a while. You can see what I meant by there's going to be a bit of a split between the top 6 and the rest of the field. It's just going to be super difficult to close up that 5-second gap now, but a safety car would do the trick. We're yet to see one on lap 6 of 26. So far, the drivers, a couple of them making mistakes, but no one so severe that they've brought out a full course safety car. So that's good to see from the drivers, keeping it consistent for these past 6 laps. And we're seeing some decent battles too, especially in the midfield. It's starting to get very heated. FVR Jerome is continuing to move his way up the field, and now it's the FVR Stefano driver that is ahead of him that he's got to try and overtake to get into P8 and continue on and try and battle for P7 in this Grand Prix, which is some pretty decent points for these guys. So hopefully we see this battle continue.
I'm looking at Stefano's recent results, and his best result was around France, where he scored 6 points. So he was in a P5, so he's looking to potentially get into P4 as well. But you never know, the train can grow and grow. But we got a bit of battle potentially bring for Markados to potentially get that podium spot back from Shizu Tom. And we can see the best lap times, obviously Tom being a lot faster than Markados, but it's going to be hard to try and compare people to other drivers as well. We'll see who has set the faster lap time as well as Tom. Oh no! Kian's made a mistake and he is spun! He is spun towards the end of set to 1. Luckily, no damage there, but the talent factory guy of Kian, his day has gone from bad to worse, and now we've got a Ferrari's powered cars 1 and 2. Tom, like he was last week in Bahrain, is on to challenge for the win. And we got our first retirement of Frankie. I believe it's in the pit lane. Yes, it is in the pit lane. I don't think we are going to get a safety car, but it's just so easy to make mistakes, so easy to spin as well. You can get on the power early, and I think that's what Kian has done. And that's what has let him down. We've seen in obviously the first 2 rounds where he's on for like podiums. He spun in both of those rounds. He started to improve a bit more. He got a podium last week in Bahrain. Just missed out on the race victory. But I think for Kian now more, it's going to be hard for him to get a podium here today because he lost a bunch of time.
Yeah, so much time lost from now. He's battling for the race win there, but one of Talent Factory Kian's weak points is his consistency, something he definitely has to work on. So we're now seeing one Louise make the move on Fabi into turn number 1. You can see the drivers as they head into turn number 1 trying to get those safe moves done and not go side by side through there, as it can lose you quite a bit of time trying to go into turn 1. But yeah, Talent Factory Kian, that spin from him, that's going to cost him quite a bit. Still got a chance to battle for that podium, but it's going to take a lot of effort now. First thing he's got to do is catch up to the DRS of Fabi in P5, currently 1.7 seconds off, and he's quite low on the ERS, below 10%, so his red light will be flashing as we now see FBI Stefano make the move on Shizu Jensen into turn number 3. A very tidy move there from FBI Stefano to go down the inside of the Ferrari driver. But Talent Factory Kian, he's slowly but surely gaining through this middle sector. He's already gained 3/10 in just the space of 1 sector. So hopefully he can get himself back into the battle for at least the top 5. But yeah, it's not looking good for Kian as of right now. But we definitely know that he's got the pace to be up there. He's just got to put it all together now for these next couple of laps. We're only on lap 8 of 26. So there's still plenty of time for events to happen and possibly a safety car to come. Obviously, we all expect a safety car when we come to the streets of Baku. Thankfully, haven't seen one yet. But I'm sure a couple of drivers will be banking on them, like the likes of OP Rowan and OP Nando Jr. And now possibly even Talent Factory Kian, although as I say that, he's just 1 second behind the top 5. So this could be a very quick recovery from the Haas driver. He's already almost into the DRS of the top 5. So he's making quick work after that spin.
He is derating a little bit as well. He's got 0 ERS as well, so he was pushing a lot to try and close in on these guys once again. Meanwhile, Marlon has got a move done with DRS past Stefano up into P10, but there could be dangers that he could run out of DRS to Jerome anytime soon. And look at that, they're all so close to each other. It could be anyone's fight for all the points. And even if these drivers go for a spin or two, they are still allowed to catch up, but the only one's not in that DRS train is Stefano. He's 4.1 seconds behind. We've got Louis that's 2.6 seconds behind, so they could be vulnerable to overtake further down the line. Meanwhile, Kazidal, that's been under the radar, I think, this week, just set a personal best in the final sector. He's got past Namai up into P14, but he's on those hard tyres, so I wonder if the mediums are starting to die a little bit, and maybe going on the mediums for Namai was probably the wrong decision, but if there's a safety car coming up, maybe it could be the right decision for him. As we, according to my telemetry, we've got no sign of rain for these drivers. Air temperature 28 degrees, track temperature 35 degrees. As we've got Jerome gaining that straight line speed here, going towards turn 14 and 15 as well. And I think there was a few questions in the chat asking if anyone is on wheel Most people on will, apart from one person who's making his debut in PSF1, Morborak as well. I believe Morborak is the only person on a pad, but I will confirm that. Ready for next week, as I think we're starting to see the gaps really start to settle, but not if you're Farby. Farby wants to go on a push. I think people are just setting consistent lap times for the time being in the 143s, as Louis does not want Farby to get past at all. And Farby has been one of those drivers who liked street circuits last season. He won in Monaco, he got pole, but wasn't able to capitalise on those ever since. But he's had a lot better season last season than previous seasons. Yellow flag, that's Kazizel, he's out of the race. Could we see our first safety car? Yes, we can, safety car. Now, that is good news for Namaya. He could go into the pits. Bad news if you're on the hard tyres, but sometimes you got to play the risk sometimes. But we know in Baku more, safety cars breed safety cars, but unfortunate for Kazizel, who has done well in this circuit in the past.
Yeah, second retirement of the Grand Prix and first safety car of the race. I think we all expect it when we come to Baku, and we finally got it. And that first safety car of the race is coming out on lap 10 of 26. Now, this is going to be extremely interesting because 16 laps left to go. And the mediums, I don't think they can make it that long. And if they do, it would be quite a stretch. I think we would see the tyres in puncture territory. So, do the hard compound tyre runners come into the pit lane and risk it for the medium compound tyres? Do they go for a two-stop strategy or go full send and try to stretch the mediums? We're about to find out, because Talent Factory Max is coming into the final sector of the lap time, and he's going to be the first man to decide who is he going to go on to the mediums or is he going to stay out on the hards. And I'm sure a lot of the drivers behind will base their strategic decisions off of that, because Shazoo Tom making sure to keep a nice and big gap to Max so that he has plenty of time to react. And it looks like Max will be coming into the pit lane. He's pulled off to the left, and yes, he is coming into the pit lane for the medium compounded tires. And it looks like pretty much everyone in the grid is coming in for those yellow walled medium tires, so everyone is gonna risk it on the mediums, possibly try to extend it for the 16 laps. We could even see some two stoppers in the field, but this is absolutely perfect for the Williams down in P16. He's on the mediums, and he can now comfortably go on to the hards until the end of the Grand Prix. So Namia, he's played the strategy to perfection by starting on the mediums there, and we'll definitely have to keep an eye on him, because he could be very, very strong towards the end of the Grand Prix when everyone else is struggling with their tyre wear. But only one driver has decided to stay out on the hard compounded tyre. That is Volkongen, who is up into P4 now because of staying out, but he's still got to stop to make in this Grand Prix. Maybe just not confident that the mediums can make it to the end, and would prefer to box when his pit window actually comes, which should be around lap 15 or so. So he's only really the medium runners are only really extending their stints by about 4 laps, but at 4 laps in a 26-lap Grand Prix on the mediums especially, that can be very, very testing. So I think we're going to see quite a few mistakes at the end of the race when the tires just lose all grip, but it should be interesting to see how it all plays out. And I think we're going to see some great battling now that the drivers are onto the mediums, because now it's time to battle for the points. There's no pit stops, no strategy to get in your way. It's just you and the drivers around you battling for as many points as possible.
Yes, and I have to say, in F2, I think it was around about lap 13, 14s when the safety car came out, so we weren't that far off between those two as well. But yeah, Volakongan usually likes to stay out and have the bold strategy. He thinks there could be another safety car down the line, which is fair enough. Like I said, safety cars breed safety cars. But he tried staying out in Bahrain, thinking that a safety car could come out, and it didn't work. I hope we don't see a repeat from Volakonga from last week, that he tried to stay out as much as he could. He's going to get absolutely swamped, because the hards, even though they last around about 19 laps, they're not going to last forever. He's going to have to pit onto a different tyre compound, and it's around about 6/10 slower than the medium, so he's going to drop way out of the point. So I'm a bit bewildered as to why Volakongan stayed out, but he may have a method to his madness. He may think the track position is important. Oh, nope, he's deciding that he's realised that people have gone in he's going into the pits. But he's going to be in dead last now. And by the way, Nando's gone on softs. That's brave, unless he wants to go back onto another set of mediums, which, if he can, fair enough. Nope, he's staying out on softs. Okay, I am a bit, again, bewildered. Nope, he's coming in. Okay, he's coming into the pits. Okay, so he wants to do a different tyre compound as well. So, fastest lap at the moment belongs to Frankie, but obviously he's out of this race. But I'm looking at other drivers that have set fastest laps in the field. The fastest lap at the moment belongs to Jensen with a 1:42.348. Near the front guys at the top 4, Keane's the fastest lap, 1:42.6. We've got 1:42.5 for Tom. So Tom at the moment, his best lap time is faster than Max. So we could see a challenge there as well. They were fighting for the win last week as well. Let us know your thoughts in the chat. Who do you think is going to win at this race, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix? I think I was talking to Tom for the last few weeks as well, and it's about, like I keep saying, momentum. Once you get the momentum going, you keep carrying on, you keep getting those good results. He started off this season really, really awful. He even had last season wasn't very good as well, but once he picked up his first win of the season, his victories and podium just kept on coming in, and I think the safety car has definitely benefited him as well. But obviously we'll have to wait and see. He's the fastest man out of the likes of Max and Markados. So I think game on for this top 3. Could we see Markados potentially get his first win in PSGL F1 potentially?
I think there's every chance of it happening. He's up in that top 3 now. The safety car is coming into the pit lane and we're about to go for green flag running. So it's anyone's Grand Prix now. Tom Factory Keane has managed to sneak his way up into the top 4 because of the Mercedes having to double stack there. So very nice seat from Keane. He's now back up into that podium battle. So the safety car has been absolutely perfect for him. He's got his one spin into the Grand Prix now. Hopefully that's him done and he can keep it consistent for the rest of the race and battle for this podium with the likes of Max, Tom and Markados. But Max will be leading us away for this safety car restart, making sure to slow it down nice and slowly, and going to try to surprise Tom as best he can. Tom no longer weaving, he's just getting ready for the safety car restart. Stefano actually gets a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Louise. Max leaving it very late and he's finally gone for the safety car restart. Tom, good reaction speed from the Ferrari driver. Louise now is going side by side with Fabi as they head into turn number 1. Fabi sending it around the outside. It's Stefano who goes down the inside. Louise makes contact with the back of Fabi, and Stefano trying to send it down the inside. 3 wide into turn 1 was surely never going to work. He now gets overtaken by Mubarak, who moves up into P8 now. So the AlphaTauri debutant is now into P8 as he gets re-overtaken by FVR Stefano as they head into turn number 3. But chaotic restart there for Fabi, who's now all the way down into last place. Mubarak is going side by side with Stefano through turn number 4 there. Very, very close between the two of them as they make contact, and it's a mistake in the background there. That's for VIR Marlon, who's now dropped all the way down to P18. There's so much chaos happening on this restart now, and I don't think any of the drivers were prepared for that.
I don't think any of them were, apart from Max, who's already pulled off a 6/10 gap over Tom. So he definitely controlled that restart to perfection for the time being. And I have to say, Max is doing a brilliant job. But I think Tom maybe is just doing what he did last week, saving a bit of his tyre wear and pushing towards the end of the race, because he knows that it's going to be a bit of a push for those mediums to get to the end. It can, just about, but they could be puncture territory. So he's saving a bit of his tyre life now so he can push later on. And Marlon should have a spin near turn 15, so he, I think, is probably going to retire, but not entirely sure as well. And with all these people starting to break away from that train, Stefano being both of the Stefanos, in fact, as well. I think Mubarak got very, very lucky as well, as Desso and Jensen having a bit of a battle. I believe it was Jensen going into the pit, so Jensen's there, unfortunately, has gone from good to bad right now, so he's dropping down to near the back as well. What a shame, because it's one of his favourite tracks right now. So obviously we'll keep an eye on the front battle as well, and we can see 5 tenths is the gap between Markados and Tom, 8 tenths of the gap between Max and Tom. So Tom's got to be careful that he can stay within DRS range. Save enough so you can stay within DRS range, but obviously don't pretty much fall too much, because otherwise the likes of Marcos and Kian could catch up. That safety car, by the way, has benefited Kian because he's back up into 4th, so he's loving life at the moment. He was one of the fastest guys on track at the moment. I'm seeing if anyone set quicker lap times at the moment. We are starting to see personal bests, and look, as the fuel is getting lighter and lighter, Maxmore is purple in the first sector, 35.7. First man into the 35s in this race in the first sector. And more, you're mute. And whilst he fixes his mic then, we will obviously keep an eye on Dob. Wow, Max has already broken away from DRS then. Purple sector 2 as well. 2 tenths quicker than Tom. 40.9, and Max, I think, has gained about 3 or 4 attempts in the first sector alone compared to Tom. But meanwhile, Tom and Marcos pretty much the same pace. Tom's gained a lot of time in the middle sector to Marcos by a few tenths of a second. And DRS is now activated for the drivers, so that means if they're within 1 second, they can gain a little bit, and that's what Mubarak is going to be doing at this moment. He could gain a bit here as well. It is hard to see, obviously, what setups they got, but I think Mubarak has got a bit of a straight line speed setup. And don't forget, he's on a pad, one of the only drivers on this field to go on a pad, and he gets past Stefano up into 8th place. Don't forget, Stefano has got a time penalty, and there we go. Mubarak, don't forget, started dead last after crashing in the castle section in qualifying. He's absolutely loving life in P8, and he's doing very, very well on these meters, but he's got to be careful not to push it too much as well. More, you back? He is not back at the moment, so we may as well carry on. We're halfway into this race then, a few laps ago, so we do not have long to go until the end of this race as well. More personal best set from some drivers. Louis and Jerome getting quicker, so is Kian. Deso finding some more time as well. Fabi as well, ready and trying to go down the inside of Nando, so maybe finding more time has definitely helped him a little bit there as well as they go down the back straight. It is a heavy braking zone, so it can be quite tricky as well. And the fastest lap, by the way, set by Max, 140.758. No one else in the 140s at the moment. Tom is quite close, but yeah, Max has got to be careful he doesn't push too much, because those meters may not last to the end.
Yeah, very sorry for the microphone struggles, but thankfully I'm back. And yeah, the mediums definitely are going to struggle. And Tom, he's doing that job of just saving his tyres and his ERS, although not his ERS actually. He's been pushing extremely hard to try and get into the DRS of Talent Factory Max. He's on 0% onto the run into turn number 3. Max, he's also having ERS struggles of his own. So Tom and Max are both pushing to the absolute maximum right now. They're not worrying about those medium compound tires, so they are definitely going to struggle towards the end of the race. Markadox is on the same boat. He's also pushing hard with the ERS. We're also seeing a nice battles in the midfield forming. We saw, or not in the midfield, towards the top, Louise actually overtook Talent Factory Keane, who seems to be struggling a little bit now for pace. He was in that top 4, but he just wasn't able to keep up with the DRS of Markadox ahead, and obviously Tom and Markadox are pushing together. Markadox with that DRS was just able to pull away from Talent Factory Keane, but now that Louise is up into P4, he's almost into the DRS of the Mercedes, so he's doing a very good job at the moment. Hopefully can possibly start battling for a podium in this Grand Prix. That would be quite nice to see from the Williams driver, who's doing a decent job as of right now, and I think he might have just missed out on the DRS, the DRS detection point hasn't come up yet, so Louise has now got himself into DRS of the top 3, and he's going to be battling with Mark Dawes and Tom, so great job from the Williams driver. Meanwhile, Kean trying to hang on for dear life. Everyone below 10% ERS, they're all pushing as hard as they possibly can, and everyone going full send at this stage. So obviously not worrying about what might happen later on, and maybe the drivers that are conserving at this stage are going to do quite a bit better, as we see a spin there for Shizu Jensen, who's really struggling in this race. He's now lost his front wing. Oh yeah, and there you go, a safety car, because he's actually lost his front wing. He's locked up and gone straight on into the wall into turn 15, so that has caused a full course safety car, and that could spice things up even further.
What would you do? Would you stay out on the mediums that you got, or would you go on to fresh mediums? That will definitely give you a safety net to go to the end of this race. If I was Ronan and Maya, this will be huge. Go on to mediums. If you chose a balance, you can go on a set of these medium tyres, and it could definitely help you a little bit. But if you're not on those fresh medium tyres, it could be in a little spot of bother. Now, I never had a situation where on reduced safety car, someone loses their front wing and a safety car is called. It's usually when someone retires, so that's weird. But that's probably Baku for you, because there was probably a lot of debris on the track. I wonder if it was set to increase this week. But Jensen, though, realises there's a safety car. He keeps going, and he's going on to his fresh set of medium tyres. And he's a little bit further ahead behind the rest of the field then. So plenty of chance for Marlon to get back in this race as well, because he's had a few issues. We've still had 2 retirements from this race so far. Stefano still to serve his stop go penalty, I believe. So he will have to go in the pit lane. I am keeping an eye on warnings as well. Marcos on 1 warning, Louis on 2 warnings. Mubarak's on 2 warnings as well. Desta's on 1 warning. Nando's on 1 warning. Rowan's on 1 warning. And Kazizzle, obviously, he was out on 1 warning as well. So the ones on 2 warnings, they got to be careful, because otherwise they will get a time penalty added to their name, which is not what they want around Baku. Some warnings might be for causing collisions, so we'll take that with a pinch of salt. Stefano, unsurprisingly, comes in to serve his stop go penalty. So here he goes. He's going to wait for 5 seconds, and luckily no touching of the car there. Has quite a lot of people in the midfield are coming in. We've got the likes of Ronan and Meyer, which is not really a surprise. The ones who were caught up in that safety car driver who's also in the pits, and they will definitely get to the end. So yeah, I don't know what I would have done, but that pushes Jerome up to 6th, Stefano up to 7th, Mubarak up to 8th. What will these drivers matter about? Track position or fresh tyres?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the track position that they're all favouring now, because Mark Dawes was the only one who had a little look about coming into the pit lane, but decided to cut the pit lane line as he had to retract from going into the pit lane. So I don't know if he'll actually get a penalty for that or not. Hopefully he doesn't. But yeah, everyone staying out. But, you know, towards that lower midfield, obviously they don't have a lot of track position to lose, so they obviously just thought we may as well go full send, get onto a fresh set of mediums and see what we can do from there. And the leading of those drivers is Fabi, who's on the freshest mediums, and he's in the top 12 now, so we'll have to see. I think he'll definitely be able to push on for points in this Grand Prix. Obviously not where he would have liked to be after battling for a top 5 position, but that safety car restart incident is what's caused him to fall down the order so much. But he's in P12 now. He's on the fresh medium, 6 and 7 lap fresher tyres than the rest of the field, so hopefully he can make up a few positions, and I definitely think we could see him getting into the points in this Grand Prix. But track position is what the drivers have favoured, maybe thinking that this safety car, it's obviously not going to induce as much tyre wear, so that will save them a bit of tyre wear, and that will help them get their mediums to the end of the Grand Prix. But I think one thing we should definitely mention, Mubarak and Deso, the 2 drivers who started at the very back row of the grid, P19 and P20, find themselves in P8 and P9. That's super impressive stuff, especially at Baku, where it's quite difficult to go side by side into the turns. So to make that many moves and to keep it that consistent throughout the Grand Prix so far, it's super impressive to see from those guys. So they could be on for some points today, and I think Mubarak would be especially happy with that, getting points on his debut. Obviously was promoted from F3 to F1 for a reason, but we're on lap 19 of 26. There is not long left left to go in this Grand Prix. And right now, after as we saw on the previous safety car restart, it seems like Talent Factory Max has the upper hand pace-wise.
Yeah, it does look like it, doesn't it? He's leading this race. He's pretty much setting purple sectors alight at the moment. Again, the only one in the 140s with the mid in the whole field, apart from Marlon, who was on fresh mediums earlier on as well. And it's gonna be tough for Tom, but Tom does have a second chance now. He didn't get Max off this first restart. Surely he may have engineers in his ear thinking, right, what did Max do on the restart before that I didn't do? What do I need to work on to get that better straight line speed? Now, he's had chance to save tyre wear more than Max has right now. So I think Tom would, be a little bit more favoured, as it were. So we will obviously see what Tom can do on this restart. Markados as well, who didn't have the best of restarts, but was able to avoid all the carnage as well. He's probably seen what the likes of Tom and Max has done as well. So they'll be reading into each other's, and Max may have to think of something different, because otherwise you can't obviously do the same thing, because otherwise it could cause, I think, some chaos in this field right now. But I believe safety car is staying out for another lap, because I think we are waiting for other drivers to get by. Oh, that is a late call. That is a late call. Right, that doesn't give Max enough time at all to potentially try and get past certain drivers. So, Max, what is he going to do now? He's got to weave his tyres. He's got to control the restart a bit later than we would have expected. So he's controlling the pace right now. Probably the latest I've seen safety car restarts around here, to be fair. But let's see then, what can this man do? And he's already flying. He's already flying, but Louis has caught Markados napping, but Markados fights back in towards turn number 2. Nice switch back for Markados, stayed in P3 for now. All this squabbling is allowing Max to keep behind. Rowing down the inside of the mire then, down in the background as well. A lot of drivers moving about in this midfield, but Fabi's going to hope he doesn't get caught in this as well, because he had a very good start to this race, but was unfortunate to be caught up in this incident. Rowan and Marlon almost making contact, heading in towards turn 4. That was, I think, very, very tight entry from the pair of them as well. They were almost hitting the wall, guys. Oh my goodness, that could have been a recipe for disaster. But Tom was closer to Max in that lap, but Tom, unfortunately, no response to Max at this time being as well. But Louis almost got past Markados, but Markados was like, nope, having none of that. But pretty much everybody's staying as they are at the moment. No penalties for the drivers so far, so it's a sprint to the finish for these final 7 laps. And I believe Moore is having technical difficulties once again, but as we can't hear, unfortunately, his mic is having issues, unfortunately, but that is PlayStation problems for you sometimes. But one driver that's flown a little bit under the radar is Jerome at the moment, closing in P6. His fastest lap time is a 1:41.8, so he may not be fast than some of the drivers, but he pretty much didn't get involved in the carnage, and he's stewing up there in a P6 for now, but he's got less straight line speed compared to the others. So Kian is starting to pull away a little bit as well. So everyone's starting to find their rhythm just a little bit as well. We're starting to see Margados setting personal best in the final sector, 24.1 with his final sector. So he is trying to close in on Tom ever so slightly. And you can tell who he's pushing and who hasn't. Tom is faster than Max in the final sector, and I believe, no, it was just the final sector that Tom's faster than Max. Every other sector, Max is faster. Yellow flag, that is Marlon. That's gone for a spin once again, and unfortunately his street circus power S is not going to translate here, I'm afraid. And we got another spin, that's Rowan. He decided that he wants joining in the spinning fun too.
Yeah, falling down the order there, but Yeah, very sorry about my technical difficulties there. PlayStation on Discord isn't fully working just yet. But we're now on lap 21 of 26, and Louis is just outside that DRS of Marquez. Now he really needs to push on, because that DRS is going to be absolutely crucial. If he loses it for this next straight now, it might be him out of contention for a podium. And Kian, well, he's in the same boat. He's struggling to keep up with Louis himself. So it seems like P4 and P5 struggling to keep up with the podium positions. Everyone's still got a decent bit of ERS left. No one is really going below that 10% range, apart from the top two of Talent Factory Max and Shizou Tom, doing exactly what they did on the previous restart and absolutely sending it with their ERS. Marquez is doing the same just to keep up with the two of them. So this time, though, Shizou Tom has kept in the DRS of Talent Factory Max, and that is quite crucial. So learning from the previous restart of what he was doing wrong, and he's got it right this time. You've got 5 laps of racing, including this one, and plenty of time for moves to take place. And Shizou Tom is now well and truly in the battle for this race seed, and he could be on for his 3rd victory in 3 races. That would be quite the accomplishment in PSF1, and as of right now, not looking super likely, because he is 9/10 behind Max. He's just about keeping within that DRS. Now Marquez has actually lost the ERS, and that's
Rowan is out. Rowan is out of this race. He is retired in the pit lane, so no safety car.
Thankfully, no safety car. I'm sure the drivers have had enough of those in this Grand Prix too already, as Fabi has made the move just before the castle section. They're very impressive to see from the Mercedes driver, trying to make those fresh mediums work. He's got himself up into P11, so he is on the verge of points in this Grand Prix, and with 6 lap fresher tyres than Volakongen ahead of him, there's every chance that he could overtake. Being stuck in the DRS trains like this, it's very difficult to make moves, although Deso in P9 slowly losing out to OP Stefano, as we see FVR Stefano move up ahead of OP Nando Jr. And Deso trying to get himself back into the DRS, but can't, as one Mobrak has actually got himself up into P7, so he continues to impress in PSF1. We're now seeing Louis go for the move on Marquez, who lost the DRS to the top 2. Louis takes advantage of the situation, and this time he gets the move done into turn 1.
He does. Great stuff from Louis, on course for a podium. He could also still be in shot with this race win, and he's improving lap after lap. He's been setting personal best as well, compared to his nearest rivals as well. And Louis' last lap 142.222, so about 4 or 5 tenths faster than anybody else on that lap. Tom 142.6, Max 142.7. So if Louis could keep up the pace, and we got a battle for the lead potentially, as Tom is closing in on Max every single lap. And by the way, Max and Tom's first sector in that last lap was absolutely pretty much almost identical. It was a few thousandths separating each other, which I have to say is quite insane. Tom just found, I think, a little bit less time, unfortunately. We can see Louis is starting to get into that DRS train once more, and that just shows how important it is for him to potentially be in the running for the race victory. We're already on lap 23 out of 26. The clouds are starting to thicken in a little bit, and according to my telemetry, it says light rain in 30 minutes. Not going to happen, because it's not a 100% race, so if there was more safety cars, potentially we could have some light rain, but not going to happen here, unfortunately. But Tom is finding some ground. 8 tenths is the gap now, but I think there's one lap where he's pushing, one lap where he's not. I think this lap is potentially where he's not pushing too much. He's burnt a lot of VRS, by the way, around about 10% left he has got. And if you're below 10%, you will start to lose a lot of power indeed as well. And you can start to see, I think he must have made a mistake, because the last few laps he did was in the 142s, but in the lap just gone, Tom it was a 143.488. But you can see he's gaining again, so he is starting to go back to his usual levels to potentially be back into the 142s again. So maybe he's a little bit more comfortable with his setup, maybe just a little bit of a graze of the wall as well. Namaya setting the fastest lap of this race so far. Purple in the first and second sector, personal best in the final. But we know who's got purple in the final. I believe that was Max. So Yeah, I think more Tom is doing what he's doing last week, just saving a bit of life in his tyres, and now he's going to push in his final couple of laps.
Yeah, he definitely is. You can see getting himself up to about 25% ERS, but Max is calling the play. He's saving a little bit of ERS on his own. But yeah, Tom, he's got that extra DRS advantage. So he's got that little advantage. Obviously, Max has the track position, so he's got to play this super carefully if he wants to maintain the lead for lap 26 of 26. But while the battle for the lead continues, so too does the battle for the top three, as Marquez was able to find a way back past Louis and onto the podium positions once again. But Louis, he's not going down without a fight. He's going to continue the battle until lap 26 of 26, until he sees that black and white checkered flag. And he's not the only one who's continuing to battle. OP Stefano on the pit straight now, on the back of one Mobarak into turn number 1. He's going to get a nice and easy move done on the AlphaTauri driver using his straight line speed. We're seeing VFabi make the move around the outside of Orion into turn number 1. That's a brilliant move there from the Mercedes driver, who's really trying to battle, but you can see he's made contact with the back of Dezo into turn number 2 there. He's just hit the back of him, and they've both gone round and lost their front wings there. So contact between the two drops them down to P12 and P13. They're going to have to come into the pits to get that front wing repaired, or they're just going to have to continue on at a very slow pace. But late race drama as everyone is scrambling for those points paying positions.
These drivers are just taking a lot of risks, and for some of them it could work, and for some of them like that, like Simon and Jensen, it did not work at all. But yeah, I think you only got to do it as you see fit, and sometimes it's better to finish a race and score some decent points rather than go for it and potentially lose out on a couple of points if you make a mistake. But I think I know Tom definitely wants to go for that risk, but let's see what Tom's last lap was in comparison to TF Max. So 1:43.1 was his last lap time, and a 1:43.4 was Max's. So he's gained, I think, a bit more time, Tom, in that last lap. But you can see Max is pushing this lap. So I think it's an on-off situation as well, as Jedza gets past Volokongan. Tom and Max both harvesting on ERS. We're about to start the final lap of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Max could be on course, be getting his 3rd win this season, and we could see Tom get his 3rd win in a row. 2 of them have both had 2 wins this season, and one of them could break the record for the most wins this season. You can see that Max doesn't want Tom to have any slipstream at all. You can see Tom is absolutely pushing to get past Max with every fibre of his element right now, but there's no luck. Max just has that pace in that first sector alone. 1/10 separates them in the first sector, but he gains a lot in that final sector and middle sector as well. But it may be too late. Could we see a photo finish maybe as well? Marquez is trying to do exactly the same on Louis. Louis has got past Marquez once again. So at the moment, Louis could be on for the podium, but Keenan Jerome is in that fight as well. I think Stefano could be out of this, but they all head towards the castle section for the final time of this race. And I think Tom has no response, unfortunately, to Max. Max has driven absolutely amazing so far, but yeah, still a lot of work to do for Tom to get back in his championship. But Tom's found the time in the final sector. Can he do it? Oh, it's a bit of straightlinespeed.com. It could be a photo finish, but I don't think it's nothing Tom can do unless he could go for a send and down this start-finish straight. Is he going to look left? Is he going to look right? Or is he going to settle for 2nd place? I think Tom is just going to settle for 2nd place. Yes, he is. Max came across the line. He wins in Azerbaijan. His 3rd win of the season. Tom in 2nd. Louis in his 1st race back in PSF1 in 3rd. Marquez in 4th. Keenan in 5th. Jerome with his best result of the season in 6th. Stefano 7th. Stefano 8th. The 2 Stefanos, believe it or not. Morbach in his 1st race in PSF1 from 20th to 9th place, and he could have got 8th, but he lost it by 1/10 of a second. But I have to say, brilliant job from Morbach on his 1st race in PSF1. as a reserve, and I believe it's Aurelian that rounds up your top 10. So, yeah, Max doing a stellar job, a lot more consistent compared to Tom, and that's what helped him get that race victory. I believe he has led every single lap of this race, from lights to flag. He was a favourite coming into this, and he prevailed.
Yeah, you're dead right. Leading every single lap, getting pole position, and then finally the race victory. Talent Factory Max, we saw it even at the start of qualifying. We had an idea that he might dominate this one, and that is exactly what he's gone and done. A brilliant race though from Shizou Tom to get P2 in the end, especially after starting P7 to get up there and only 2/10 away from the race victory. That's very impressive indeed from the Shizou driver. And at the end of the day, it's Louis who's got himself onto the podium after starting P5 on the grid. The AS1 Esports driver gets himself onto the podium, just about beating the TF10 driver of Marcados. Sound Factory Kian, at the end of the day, he comes home in P5 with FVR Jerome right behind him. OP Stefano manages to get P7. FVR Stefano gets P8. The two Stefanos finishing alongside each other. And Mubarak in his debut into P9. And then the last of the points goes to Shizou Ariel. But wow, what a brilliant race that was. We had action all throughout, 2 safety cars, a lot of drama with the strategy, and the tyres just about hanging on to the end of the race. You really can't ask for much more in a Grand Prix. That was a really exciting race, and hopefully more of that to come this season.
Yeah, and I think Max is back to winning race, and I think he was one of the only drivers that said that he was going to win the race, and guess what? He won the race. So I think his confidence, I think, was justified there, which was great to see. But I have to say, there's some other drivers that did very well as well, looking at where they started. Stefano obviously stayed where he was as well. Don't forget, Tom did not start where he was. He did not start P2, I believe, but he might have done, but it might have just been my telemetry just absolutely bugging me. But Tom was on course to be technically getting a penalty, so he just about avoided getting a penalty as well. Everyone else pretty much kept clean in terms of the penalty front as well. Fastest lap does belong to Namaya with a 1:39.9, but since he's outside the top 10, he's not going to get points as well. But yeah, I think it's great to see the two Stefanos doing well, and Jerome as well. But Louis, another driver that said, oh, I would do well in Baku, and again, his confidence justified as well. And it was not that far behind the two in front, pretty much consistent in the race between the two leaders of Max and Tom.
Yeah, I mean, he was up there. He really did have the pace today, and especially the consistency. He kept it up all throughout the Grand Prix. When Marcados lost the DRS to the top 2, he was instantly in there, got the DRS, made the move as early as possible, and at the end of the day, he really did deserve that podium. As yeah, great job from the Williams driver. I'm sure that's a performance he's going to be especially happy with to get into the top 3, especially when he's battling with the likes of Talent Factory Kian and TF10 Marcados. So brilliant job from him. But after such an exciting Grand Prix and so many brilliant performances all throughout the grid, if you had to pick one driver for Driver of the Day, who would you have to choose?
Well, I'm going to go for the boring choice. I'm going to go for Max. Lights to flag. His pole lap was absolutely sensational, quicker than I think everybody else on the grid by some margin. And he was able, even with that safety car, it did not faze him whatsoever. And obviously Mubarak on debut as well. He did well to get into the top 10. And Jerome with his best result of the season. But yeah, my driver of the day has to go to Max. How about you?
If I had to pick one driver, honestly, I think I have to give it to Louis. I mean, he did a brilliant job today. He was in the midfield at the start of the race when those two safety cars came out, tried to take advantage by moving himself up the field, and at the end of the day, on that last safety car restart, he was able to deliver the pace when it really mattered to get ahead of both Kian and Marcados and up onto the podium. It's a brilliant job from the Williams driver, and I really do have to congratulate him on that. So if I had to give one driver of the day, it would have to be to Louis. But yeah, there's so many drivers, so many brilliant results, but that's just the one that springs to mind. And hopefully we have lots of drivers doing well in the next coming rounds, as we saw today. Obviously, some drivers struggling a little bit more. We had 2 DNFs today, which thankfully isn't too much, to be fair, for a street circuit like Baku.
Yeah, it's not bad for Baku, is it? I was looking in the chat. I think there was one tier that had 5 safety cars and like 9 people finished or something. But I think the lower the tier, the more DNFs you have. So I think it just goes to show these drivers have been practicing. But we have 2 drivers waiting for to be interviewed. So if I can find the scene, there we go. So we'll speak to both of them, but we'll first of all speak to the man who finished in P2 this week. Yet again, another podium for yourself, Tom. Tom, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello.
Another great result from you as well. Not quite enough to match Max's pace, but again, another consistent result for you. Another podium in 3 races. Definitely things seem to be on the up for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping his tyres would go off more towards the end, but I mean, I just I didn't have the bottle. Like, I just kept making mistakes, and I just couldn't send it. So yeah, I'm happy to get P2 though. So yeah, carrying on my nice run of form.
Yeah, indeed. You almost got caught up in a few incidents as well, but luckily you were trying to avoid it as well. You like this track as well in the past as well. Were you probably relieved that the safety cars happened, or did that change your approach a little bit?
Well, the safety cars, like, it don't really matter, to be honest. The early safety car probably helped me because I think my tyre wear was quite good, and it brought me close to max. And I was towards the end of the race, max, I was hoping I'd have less tyre wear, but then the other safety car happened, and it sort of cancelled it all out, and we were all going to be on the same tyre wear towards the end because we weren't going to hit like 75 or whatever. It wasn't going to be close, so yeah, although the tyres were pretty dead at the end, I was hoping they'd go off more because I feel confident in like keeping the car. Max made a few like slides, so the safety cars helped me, but the first one helped me, the second one didn't. But yeah, you can never like predict the safety cars.
Yeah, you can never predict as well. And apart from that, it was just you closing up to Max all race as well. Not much happened in front as well. Were you a bit worried that when Louis was catching up to you on the final lap, were you a bit worried that he could have closed in on you? Because I think I could tell you were saving a little bit on some laps, but you were just concentrating on Max in front, weren't you? Or did you have a little bit of a glance at Louis in your mirrors?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't even really notice Louis was even anywhere near, to be honest. I saw him get past, I don't even know. To be honest, I have no idea. I seen him at like 7/10 at one point, but I was, focusing on Max, and he didn't really get close at all. And I was much closer to Max than he was to me. So yeah, I think he finished on the last lap. I think he finished like 3 seconds behind me, to be honest. But
it was it's hard to tell if it was 3. It was around about 3 seconds. Yeah, 3 seconds behind.
Yeah, so I wasn't worried about them. It was just focusing on Max, but Max had insane pace that whole race, which is it's not good for me to see because he's smoked me, to be fair, and hopefully that doesn't carry on for the rest of the season. But that's definitely the last race that I'm gonna put the practice into, even though I didn't do that much.
Oh yeah, because you got challenges coming up soon as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
How is that going to change your approach to this championship, knowing that you got obviously challenges to focus on, which could qualify you for F1 esports?
Well, I think we all know which I'll be like more focused on. So
yeah.
I'll probably spend my Mondays doing PSGL, but yeah, I won't be like. I probably will be quite far down the order with no pace because I'll do like no practice because college starts again and that. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't like. Hopefully I can still score points and keep like the fight to Max going, but I feel like Max might just run away with the championship because his pace is very good.
Okay, that is, I think, a good answer for that. More, do you have any questions for the driver that finished P2?
Well, yeah, one thing I'd be interested in is obviously you've got challengers coming up now, so not as much time for PSGL. I think there are going to be other drivers that are just going to practice a little bit more than you and maybe keep you out of contention for that championship battle.
Yeah, definitely. Like Marker does, and Kian. Well, Kian hasn't had a good I don't know what to say about Kian. He's got the same pace, but he's had bad luck so far. And Markados has also got insane pace. Obviously, there's loads of people with good pace, but they're the biggest names I can think of, considering Nando's got like a new rig, and he's also in challenges as well. I'm just looking at the standings. But yeah, Markados, all them lot, they'll probably be fighting for wins at max. But yeah, hopefully it won't be that bad for me.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time to take this interview, and good luck for the next few rounds, and obviously for F1 Esports Challengers.
Thank you.
Right, so we've spoken to the man who finished in P2, and now we will speak to the man who hasn't had a race win since Singapore, but he's finally got his season back up and running, and he's got his third race win of the season in another street circuit, believe it or not. It was Azerbaijan. Max, massive congratulations to you. Lights to flag, led every single lap. You were very consistent, faster than everybody else as well. How does it feel to be back on top?
Yeah, very good. It was a key race. If I wouldn't have won that, then yeah, I would be really disappointed.
Yeah, she said to me that you wanted to win and you wouldn't settle for anything else, to be honest, and that's good as well. But yeah, you said you were feeling better than last week. So obviously last week didn't go as well for you, even though you finished fair, I believe. I think you only scored 3 points in that race in Bahrain. And talk us through managing your tyres during that safety car pitch. You're probably forced to go into the pits quite early on. You were hoping to go in, I think, a few laps later as well. Were there any points where your tyres were starting to struggle a little bit?
Oh yeah, definitely. The last few laps I was very struggling on my tires and haven't had pace at all. And yeah, nearly bottled the win in the last corner. So yeah.
That was close when we saw Tom catching up as well. That could have been a disaster for you. But you just about holded that as well. But yeah, you probably were hoping that those safety cars did not happen as well. Apart from obviously Tom, were there any potential other drivers that you were worried about in that race that could have caught up to the both of you?
Nah, not really. We had really good pace, and so nah, only Tom and maybe Marcos, but yeah.
Yes, Marcos still yet to get a race win this season. Maybe next week could be that as well. And of course, you're not doing challenges, are you? 'Cause you're 15, I believe, right?
Yeah, I don't do challenges.
Okay,
I'm
good.
not allowed
So
to drive.
yeah, I thought so. So obviously, with a lot of guys putting all their focus in on challenges, whereas you're obviously putting your focus on PSGL. What is it going to be an advantage for you, really, that your main focus will be PSGL, whereas other people's focus will be challenges, or will
Yeah, maybe a bit, but also Marcos isn't driving challenges. I think only reserve, so he will be focusing on PSGL as well. So maybe on the other guys, but not on Marcos.
Oh, fair enough as well. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see you in challenges next year as well. Definitely, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, because you are definitely putting in the effort as well. More, any questions for our race winner?
Well, one thing I'd definitely like to ask is, that qualifying performance, setting that 38 flat for your second lap time of the sessions. Do you really think anyone else was going to be able to catch up to you and compete for pole position after a lap time like that?
No, not really. I thought I had pulled with this lap already. And,
Wow. Confidence.
Yeah, an absolutely brilliant lap. Great job getting pole position and the race win. You did a brilliant job today. And good luck for the rest of the season. And looks like you could be one of the main contenders in this championship battle. And I think you're definitely my favourite.
No pressure.
Thank you.
One final question, because I think we forgot to ask it to Tom and Peter. Next week, I believe we go to China. What are your thoughts about China? Because obviously we haven't raced much on this game around there. Have you done any league races around there?
No, I haven't done the track at all. So I have no idea how good I am.
Fair enough. And hopefully you'll know more about it when I ask you next week before the race. But until then, we will let you celebrate your third victory of the season, your second one from pole position. Congratulations, Max, for your third victory.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, so we are about to wrap things up for the sixth round of the season, and we thought, once we started the stream, we thought that Max obviously was potentially losing a bit of ground, but he's definitely found some better form tonight as well, and it can make the championship even more interesting.
Yeah, definitely could. I think he's the favourite for the championship battle. And with Shizu going into challenges like that, he's just not going to be able to put in the time to this championship anymore, which gives Max a huge advantage. So his main rivals really, it's going to be Markados. So I think those two are going to be the main ones. Hopefully Tom, even without practice, can still be up there challenging for podiums. But obviously when you're going up against the likes of Max and Markados, who are putting in the time, putting in hours to really get their setups fine-tuned and make sure they have the right racing lines to set stunning lap times like Max did in qualifying, it's going to be super difficult for him to compete. So yeah, I think Tom's championship, it's definitely going to struggle from here. But Max, on the other hand, I think he's going to thrive. He's back to winning ways and in quite a dominant fashion as well. And hopefully, if he can keep that up for the rest of the season, he'll be looking at becoming a PSGL's PlayStation Formula 1 champion.
Yes, we will find that in about 6 races' time, who will be the PSGL PSF1 champion, but we've still got many races still to go. A quick reminder of the calendar. We've done 6 races already, so we're halfway through the season, pretty much. Well, we were halfway tonight, but so we've got China next week, and then we got Mexico after that, Hungary on the 1st of May, Jeddah on the, I think it's 8th of May? 8th of May. And then the final round to wrap up the season, 15th of May in Brazil. So technically, we do not have that long to go until the end of the season. So plenty of action and plenty of drama that could possibly happen as well. And I'd like to say thank you, Connell, for joining me in the commentary box for your PSF1 commentary debut. Did you enjoy yourself?
I definitely did. It was my pleasure to be commentating on these drivers, watching Talent Factory and Max and Shizu Tom hustle their cars around this circuit. It's absolutely unbelievable what some drivers can do on this game, and thoroughly enjoyed this round here at Azerbaijan.
And who knows, you could be back soon as well, maybe next season or maybe for this season if one of us is absent. But yeah, hopefully Aidan Cards will join me back next week. If you want to catch more of Connell Moore, you can check him on PSF2 next week, doing his usual commentary and doing fabulous as ever. But I haven't mentioned the sponsors this week, so if you want to check out our sponsors, GT Omega, you could get 5% off all GT Omega products by using the code PSGL at checkout, and you could use the command !GT Omega for more information. I will put it in the chat for you, just so you can get more information as well. Also check out our league at Grid Rival as well, link also in the description. And if you do like our content, make sure you leave us a like on this video, hit subscribe and hit that bell if you are new. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/PremierSimGL, Instagram at PremierSimGL as well. Also follow us on our socials as well for more information. But we're going to head off. For myself and Connell, we will see you next week for the Chinese Grand Prix in our respective tiers. And of course, we've got the lower PC tiers from PCF2 to F5 being streamed on Thursday as well if you want more PSGL action until then. So have a good evening. We will leave you with our sponsors for one final time. And see you soon. Goodbye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.